Being with us tonight is part of the Believe Again Town Hall series featuring Governor Bobby Jindal. You've heard enough from me, but I want to tell you a little bit more about the man you're going to hear from tonight. He was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and converted to Christianity in high school, which is an excellent story. You might want to ask him about it. He attended Brown University and from there went on to Oxford University as a Rhodes Scholar. After his graduation from Oxford, he worked at the strategic consulting firm McKinsey and went on to serve as the head of the Louisiana Department of Health of Hospitals of the tender age of 24. His healthcare credentials were called upon in 2001 when President George W. Bush appointed Bobby the Assistant Secretary for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Now, Governor Jindal is the only candidate for president with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare. Governor Jindal served 2 terms in Congress and is currently serving his 2nd term as Louisiana's governor, where he just signed not long ago his 8th balanced budget. By the way, without raising taxes and fully funding health care and education in his state. Governor Jindal did in Louisiana what others said simply couldn't be done. He cut the state budget by 26%. He shrank the government, reformed Louisiana's education system, and instituted ethics reform. The results have been more jobs than ever, the highest incomes in state history, and an increasing state population. For the state of Louisiana, Governor Jindal has been a doer, not a talker. And most importantly, he married his high school sweetheart, Supriya, and they have 3 beautiful children. So please join me in welcoming
Thank you all very much. Thank you for coming out. What I'd like to do is talk about 15, 20 minutes about the future of our country and what we've got to do to rescue the idea of America. When I'm done, I look forward to taking your questions as long as folks want. And then after that, I'll stick around and visit with folks as well in case you want to ask your question one-on-one or you want to get a picture or you didn't get a chance to ask your question. Now, before I even start, I want to start with just a little bit of news of the day. Now, how many of you watched your TVs at some point today and saw what happened in the stock market today and last week? Well, folks, I'm here to tell you that is no surprise. I wish it wasn't so, but the reality is we are reaping the fruits of President Obama's economic policies. The reality is that stock markets go up and down, but his policies are going to cause a crash in the American economy. What do we expect when they've doubled the size of our debt to $18 trillion, raised taxes, increased the number of regulations, they've added an entitlement program in Obamacare when we can't afford the government we've got today? Look, the Fed can print out as many dollars as they want. The government can keep on spending money we don't have. But we know that they've built an economy that's a house of cards on a foundation of sand. It's going to come crashing down. And I fear we are seeing some of that today. Now, the reality is there is a better way. We can build a strong economy, not a government economy, but the American economy. When I'm president, we'll do 4 things. First, we will cut your tax rates. Secondly, we will cut our corporate tax rates so we don't have the highest tax rates in the developed world. Third, we're going to fire the EPA and make America an energy superpower. And finally, fourth, we have to shrink the government economy, and this is probably the most important point I'm going to make, and grow the American economy. They're mutually exclusive. President Obama and Hillary Clinton, they're all about growing the government economy. And look, all kinds of Republicans will talk to you about cutting the government economy. There are 9 current or former governors running for president on the Republican side. And there's exactly 1 that has cut government spending, and you're looking at them right now. There's not 2 of us, and we got senators running. They've never cut anything in the federal government in D.C. Look, folks that have not cut government spending before, that promise they're going to do it one day if we send them to Washington, if we make them president, if they haven't done it yet, what makes us think they're going to do it tomorrow? I've done what they said they want to do when they wouldn't. Send me to D.C., we'll shrink the government economy, we'll grow the American economy. So as we watch what's happening with the stock market, as we watch what's happening to our savings and our retirement, let's remember, this is the Obama economy. But I want to get to what I really want to talk to you about. Look, this president's done more damage. I've been talking to friends here in Iowa and friends back home and friends all over this country. He has done more damage in 7 years than we thought possible. Right. I give him credit. He said he wanted to transform the country. He's certainly done that. $18 trillion of debt. A foreign policy, we won't stand with Israel, but we're about to allow Iran to become a nuclear power. Somebody needs to explain that to me, because I don't understand that. We're creating new entitlement programs. We can't afford the ones we've got. We've got now a Supreme Court that thinks it's smarter than God and it can redefine marriage. That's right. But one of the most dangerous things this president is doing, he's trying to change the idea of America. What do I mean by that? You listen to his speeches, you watch his policies, it's all about dividing us. It's all about redistribution. It's all about more government spending, more government borrowing, more government taxing, more government regulations. Folks, that is not the American dream that our parents taught us. He and Hillary Clinton, his chief assistant, they're trying to turn the American dream into the European nightmare. That's not the American dream our parents taught us. Our parents taught us about an American dream where the opportunities that we receive from our parents mean that the circumstances of your birth don't determine your outcomes as an adult. If you're willing to work hard, get a great education, it doesn't matter whether you have wealthy parents or if you're born into a wealthy zip code, you can do great things. I'm going to tell you why the American dream is so important. I want to share with you just for a few minutes my background, my parents' story, and then I want to talk about what we can do to recapture and rescue that American dream. My parents, you see, they have lived the American dream. My dad is one of 9. Grew up in a house without electricity, without running water. First and the only one in our family to get past the 5th grade. Now I know because we heard these stories every single day growing up. Oh, you know the kind of dad, he walked uphill going to school both ways to hear him tell it. But here's the amazing thing. Over 40 years ago, almost 45 years ago, the very first time my parents ever got on a plane, they came halfway across the world to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They had never visited before. They hadn't even met somebody who'd been to Louisiana. He'd come back and tell them what it was like. My mom was pregnant with me. And yet they left their parents, their siblings, their families, their friends, and they came here. They were coming in search of an idea as much as they were coming to a place. They were coming in search of freedom and opportunity. They were coming to the idea of the American dream. And the great thing is, when they landed here, my mom went and became a student at LSU. My dad, he was looking for work. He didn't come to be dependent on a government program, he came to work. He didn't know anybody. Opened the yellow pages, started calling company after company looking for a job. Finally, a guy from a railroad company told him he could start Monday morning. Sight unseen. I know we got some younger students here, some younger kids here. I would just tell them, I don't want you to do what my dad did next. This is like one of the worst things you do. When you grow up and you're looking for your first job, you just remember this is what you don't do. He didn't even start working yet, and my dad tells his new boss, well, that's great, I'll start work Monday morning. And so now look, I don't have a car, I don't have a driver's license, so you're going to have to pick me up on the way to work. Who tells their boss that? The guy was so taken by his enthusiasm to work, that's exactly what he did. 6 months later, I was born. I was what you politely call a pre-existing condition. Now, all that meant was my parents' insurance didn't cover me. There was no Obamacare or anything, but I love what my dad did next. I was born at Women's Hospital, a great hospital in Baton Rouge. 2 of our 3 kids were born there. My dad went to that hospital, he found a doctor. No paperwork, no contracts, no government programs. My dad found the doctor and he said, I want to send you a check every month until I pay this bill in full. He then shook his hand, and that's exactly what my dad did. that's what people used to do. My parents weren't coming here to become dependent on a government program. My dad wanted to pay his way. It was a simpler time back then. I asked my dad, now, how does that work? How do you pay for a baby on layaway? I want you to think about that. If you skip a payment, do they take the baby back? Do they repossess the baby? He says, you were such a bad little baby, I would have skipped a payment just to send you back. He goes, no, you're paid for it. Nobody's coming to get you. The reason I tell you my parents' story, my parents came to America to chase the American dream. They caught the American dream. They have lived the American dream. I want my children, and one day my grandchildren, and your children and grandchildren, to be able to live that same American dream. And now that I've brought up my parents' example, I do want to say this. When my parents came, they came to this country legally. That's how they came to this country. Woo! I want to talk about immigration for a second. Look, a smart immigration policy makes a country stronger. A dumb immigration policy makes a country weaker. Today, we've got a dumb policy.
Yes.
We can't negotiate with dictators, let them walk all over us. We can't safeguard our nation's secrets from foreign countries. And for some reason, we're unwilling to secure our border. I'm here to tell you this. We don't need a comprehensive bill. We don't need a 1,000-page bill. We don't need any more speeches from politicians in D.C. It is time to secure our border right now.
Yes.
Let's be honest, we can get this done in 6 months. It wouldn't be perfect, but we can get this done in 6 months. The reason this isn't being done today, the politicians in D.C. don't want to do it. They'll give you every excuse about we can't do this, we can't do that. Folks, this is a country that sent a man to the moon.
That's right.
We can do whatever we set our minds to. The reality is, in our party, there are a bunch of big business interests in D.C. that threaten Republicans running for office, saying, if you're not for an open border, if you're not for amnesty, we're not going to support you. Folks, I'm here to tell you, it is time to fire those people in Washington, D.C. It is time to get this done today. And it's not just securing the border. We've got to get rid of these sanctuary cities.
Amen.
I know Congress wants to defund them. That's not good enough. I propose a Partners in Crime package where we say this. If you're a mayor, if you're a councilman, if you vote to break federal law in support of these sanctuary city policies, we are going to hold you criminally responsible as accessories for the crimes committed by people that should never have been here in the first place. Let's lock up a couple of these mayors and councilmen. I bet you wouldn't have any sanctuary cities anymore in the United States. We're living in a country, the Supreme Court thinks they can ignore the Constitution. The President thinks he's above the law. Now we've got mayors and local officials saying they don't have to obey the law either. We need to be a nation of laws.
Yes.
And you know, we used to proudly call America the melting pot. We used to proudly call America. Now the left says that's politically incorrect. They say, oh no, we should be the salad bowl.
Yeah.
They say it's culturally arrogant and xenophobic to tell folks who want to come here that they need to be Americans. That is the most ridiculous thing I've heard. Millions of people want to come to this country. Why in the world would we say, if you want to come here, you should want to be an American? We're not forcing anybody to come here. And by the way, I'm tired of our divider in chief, the president we've got today.
That's right.
He's always trying to divide us by class, by race, by geography, by gender. I am tired of the hyphenated Americans. Folks, we're not African Americans, we're not Asian Americans, we're not rich Americans, we're not poor Americans. We're all Americans, united as one. Stop this nonsense. We got to stop giving people freedoms, and we should never give somebody freedom so they can come here and undermine freedoms for other people. I'll put this very simply. Folks that want to come to our country, they need to come here legally. They need to learn English. They need to adopt our values. And when they get here, they need to roll up their sleeves and get to work. Now, some of you may have heard, I said some of these things at the soapbox of the State Fair on Saturday. We're greeted by protesters there with their t-shirts and their signs trying to silence us. And let me tell you what I told them. Big businesses can pay for as many protesters and signs and t-shirts as they want. They are not going to silence us. Nobody is entitled to come to America. It only makes sense we would let folks come in here that make us a stronger country.
Yeah, exactly.
What I say to those folks is you need to follow the law. Come here legally like my parents did. Let me be, and look, I know this isn't politically correct. I know you're not supposed to say this. I'm going to say it anyway. Immigration without assimilation is not immigration. Immigration without assimilation is an invasion. We must not let that happen in America. You want to see that future, you look to Europe. Second, third generation immigrants that don't consider themselves parts of those countries and those societies. We must not let that happen here. Now look, I know when you talk like I do, people are going to call you names. The left, the media, they're going to say, oh, you're racist, or you're this, or you're that. I spent 15 minutes talking to some of those protesters afterwards at the State Fair. But at the end of the day, it comes down to this. Our immigration policies either make us stronger or weaker. We're either a nation of laws or we're not. We're either the great melting pot that has kept us so strong for centuries, or we give that up. I'm here to tell you, I'm not willing to give up on the idea of America. And I want to switch gears a little bit and talk to you about how we've got to fight for our conservative principles. You know, one of the most important things we've got to do, we have to get rid of Obamacare. Every single word of it, to restore our freedoms and sanity to our healthcare system. Now, I want to ask you a couple of questions. I'm going to ask for a show of hands. I just want to see how many folks agree with me. When it comes to repealing Obamacare, I've offered a detailed plan, and there are two things I want to ask you. How many of you agree with me that the government should not be creating a new entitlement program since we can't afford the programs we've already got today? How many agree with that sentiment? All right, anybody disagree and thinks that we should be creating a new entitlement program?
Well, they're Democrats, they're not here.
Well, sometimes the Democrat tracker raises his hand, or sometimes the media raise their hands. I was just looking. I gotta give a chance. Well, here's my second question. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. How many agree with me that our government should not be raising our taxes in order to subsidize every American's health care to guarantee universal coverage? So how many agree we shouldn't be raising taxes to pay for universal coverage for every American? Anybody disagree? After your comment, I don't think they're going to. I think you scared them. Well, there's good news and bad news. Here's the good news. I offered my detailed plan over a year ago. And in my replacement plan, we don't create a new entitlement program. In my replacement plan, we don't have the government paying for universal coverage. In my replacement plan, instead, we focus on reducing costs, which is the real issue, and helping the truly vulnerable. Now, here's the bad news. For over a year, I was the only one with a plan. Last week, Governor Scott Walker became the second candidate to offer his plan. And I applaud him for that, because anybody running for president should tell you what they're going to do. But the bad news is Scott's plan does create a new entitlement program. Scott's plan does raise taxes to pay and subsidize for every American's health care from birth to death, to pay for universal coverage. By one estimate, it costs over $1 trillion, and it doesn't tell us how they're going to pay for it. Look, I'm going to stop picking on Scott. That's not why I'm here today. The real issue is we have got to stop being bullied by the left. It is time for us to stand up for our principles and our beliefs. I'm going to share something with you. Jeb Bush said this. He said we've got to be willing to lose the primary in order to win the general election. Well, folks, maybe we need to help him lose the primary. I absolutely disagree with that. Let me translate that into English for you. That is the establishment saying this. It's telling us conservatives, hide your beliefs. Hide your principles. Try to get the left and try to get the media to like us. Folks, if we do that again, we will lose again, and we will deserve to lose again.
Amen. That's right.
When did we decide to quit fighting for our conservative principles? When did we decide to throw in the towel? I don't know about you, but I didn't get that memo. And here's the honest truth. Conservative ideas, they're not dead in America. Now, they might be dead in D.C., but they're not dead in America. We've got leaders in our party that are afraid to fight for our beliefs and for us.
Yes, we do.
Let's be honest. They were happy the Supreme Court ruled against us on Obamacare. They were happy the Supreme Court ruled against us on marriage. They view marriage as a distraction. They don't want to roll up their sleeves and do the hard work to replace Obamacare. Only in D.C. is losing a good thing. These so-called leaders, they are afraid to fight against a new entitlement program. They're afraid to fight against universal coverage. They're afraid to fight against government dependence. They're afraid to fight for more freedom. They're so scared of the politically correct crowd. Look, we've got a debate going on here in Knoxville. I don't know how many of you, anybody here from Knoxville, or anybody here familiar with the issue about the Veterans Memorial? How ridiculous is this? So there's a memorial to honor our veterans. And now the politically correct crowd is saying, well, no, we've got to take that out of the park. It's got a cross in it. We've got to take that out of the park. That is the most ridiculous thing I've heard.
Amen.
I love one of the guys said, we're going to come back and we're going to flood this place with crosses. I thought, that's great. But we've got a choice to make. Do we fight for our principles or do we keep rolling over? We got the majority last year. What happened?
Rolled over.
That's exactly right. They told us, give us the majority, we'll get rid of amnesty, and we'll get rid of Obamacare. Look, I don't like Harry Reid's policies. I don't like Nancy Pelosi's policies. I certainly don't like Barack Obama's policies. But at least they fight for what they believe in. You know, this president, he can't negotiate with the Iranians. He can't negotiate with the Russians. He can't negotiate with the Chinese. The only people he can negotiate with are the Republicans in Congress. They're the only people that roll over for him. It is amazing to me. Look, we have a choice to make. Give Bernie Sanders credit. He calls himself a socialist. At least he's honest.
That's right.
Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, they're trying to change America. They know what they want. They're trying to change the American dream into the European nightmare. They're all taking us on a path to socialism. We have to decide. Are we going to fight or are we going to roll over? Are we going to fight for the American dream?
Yeah.
Are we going to fight to decrease government dependence? Now look, you're going to hear from all kinds of politicians running for president. And they'll come through here and I'm sure they'll give you great speeches. A lot of red meat, a lot of applause on it. And they'll say great, and it's wonderful. The problem is we've got a lot of great speakers running for president. We've already got a great speaker in the White House. And if great speeches are enough, we'd be doing great. We don't need a speaker, we need a doer.
That's right.
I'm here to tell you, I'm not the best looking candidate. I don't have the most money. I don't have a famous last name. My daddy wasn't president. I don't have a reality TV show. I don't have any of those things. This is what I do have. I've got the backbone, I've got the bandwidth, and I've got the experience to get us through this. To fight for our conservative. I will be the candidate. I am going to be the guy that is best prepared on the first day. Why is that so important? Our next commander-in-chief at one point or another will be across the table from a Putin or from an Ayatollah. And we better hope and pray he doesn't need a teleprompter. Or talking points or smart staff. Look, I'll give you an example. Every Republican will tell you they're going to shrink this out of government. Every one of them, I guarantee you they will tell you that. And it sounds great. But I told you before, we got 9 governors or former governors running for president. And there's only one that has actually reduced the size of government. And you're looking at him right now. There's not 2, there is 1. There are a bunch of senators running for president. They've never shrunk anything in terms of spending in D.C. Now what they'll do is they'll slow the growth rate. They call that a cut. That's not good. They should be embarrassed. You know, they give great speeches, they filibuster, they pat themselves on the back. I'm glad they've got big bladders. That is not enough to be president of the United States. We took gone to special interests. We cut our budget 26%. 30,000 fewer state bureaucrats than the day I took office. 8 credit upgrades. Top 10 state for private sector job creation. I don't think anybody has got more government spending anywhere or any place than we did in Louisiana. When people tell you that they're going to cut spending in D.C., if they haven't been able to do it today, what makes us think they'll be able to do it tomorrow? It gets harder, not easier, when we make them president. We don't have the time for 4 more years of on-the-job training. We've got a first-term senator in the White House. We've got a guy that gives great speeches. Let's not make that mistake again. Folks, we have got to decide. Hillary Clinton, she's honest. She wants to grow the government economy. I want to grow the American economy. 7 of the 10 fastest growing counties were in the D.C. area. That is not a sustainable economy. That is not a real economy. Middle class wages, stagnant. Record high participation rate in food stamps, record low participation rate in the workforce. That tells you all you need to know about what's wrong with our economy today. We're going to have more people in the cart than pulling the cart. We've even got Republicans defending expanding Medicaid. At some point, enough is enough. We can't keep creating government programs. Look, Hillary Clinton's promising people free college tuitions. Why stop there? Why not have the government buy everybody a house and a car while we're at it? Why are they so cheap? That's not free. I hate that when people say, oh, well, look, it's free. It's just federal money. That's our money.
That's right.
That's our children's and grandchildren's money.
Yeah.
I want to say something that's politically incorrect, and I'm going to say it anyway. And I don't mean to offend anybody here, but I want to just be honest with everybody. The idea of America is slipping away right in front of us.
It is.
Now, what do I mean by that? Look, it is easy to take America for granted. Many Americans take America for granted. Maybe it's tempting to do that. And maybe as the son of immigrants, I've got a different perspective. But I'll tell you this. My parents never take America for granted. Every single day, they give thanks. They are blessed to be in the greatest country in the history of the world. But the idea of America is slipping away right in front of us. What do I mean by that? Look at what we have seen these last 7 years. $18 trillion of debt. A Supreme Court that thinks they're smarter than God when it comes to defining marriage. Obamacare when we can't afford the government we've got. Our president declares war on trans fats and a truce with Iran, the largest sponsor of terrorism. Our president unwilling to use the words radical Islamic terrorism to define our enemy, yet more than happy to criticize America, apologize for America, criticize those medieval Christian crusaders. We've got now the left trying to take God out of the public square. Hillary Clinton telling those of us that are pro-life we need to change our religious views. Planned Parenthood spending your tax dollars to tear apart babies and to sell their organs across this country. We've got a foreign policy we won't stand with Israel. Foreign policy where we treat our friends like dirt, we let our enemies walk right all over us. The idea of America is slipping away from us. Folks, the idea of America has created more wealth than any other civilization in the history of the world. It has done more to fight for freedom and the defenseless than any other civilization in the history of the world. We must not let the idea of America slip away. I'm here to tell you this. I will fight to my last breath. I will give every ounce of energy I've got to fight to keep the idea of America. And I'm asking you to do the same. If we join together with God's grace, I know we can win this fight. But that's what this election has to be about. It is not about saving the Republican Party. It is about saving the United States of America. Shame on those fools in D.C. who seem intent on giving away the idea of America. Shame on us if we let them. America can't be beat by any external enemy, but we could be beat from within. What we are seeing is the idea of America slipping away from us. Before I close, I want to tell you one last thing about me. I'm unashamed, I'm unembarrassed, I'm proud to tell you that I am a Christian. Now, I wasn't born or raised a Christian. It took me 7 long years to convert at the age of 16. Gave my life to Christ in a non-denominational church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, called Chapel on Campus. Why do I tell you that? Because Christians are being under physical assault around the world. Christian values are under assault right here at home in America.
That's right.
We need somebody who's willing to stand up for our values, fight for our values. I'm here to tell you, I don't want to be your next commander-in-chief. But electing me, passing a law, that's good. But we also need a spiritual revival in this country. Churchill always said this. He said, you can count on the Americans to do the right thing after they've exhausted every alternative. We've exhausted every alternative. It is time to turn back to God.
Here, here. That's right.
And the great news is America's history is filled with times of spiritual revival right after the hour seemed darkest. Well, the hour seems pretty dark to me right now.
Yes.
I'm not just talking about our Christian values. I've fought for them. In Louisiana, we have been the most pro-life state 6 years in a row since I've been governor. Now, you may have read about Planned Parenthood. We canceled their Medicaid contract, so they're not getting any taxpayer dollars in the state of Louisiana. They didn't like that. They announced they were going to come protest at the governor's mansion where I, my family, where we live. So this is what we did. I said, that's fine. They got a First Amendment right. They got a right to protest. But I said, we're going to provide a little entertainment for them. They're going to be outside anyway. We set up an outside projector, a tent, a giant screen, and we played those videos over and over and over. What they are doing is barbaric.
Amen.
I'm pro-life, but even those Americans that aren't yet pro-life, I would hope this would shock their conscience. Hillary Clinton likes to tell us, well, you shouldn't use, her whole political credit, you shouldn't use anchor babies, you shouldn't use this, you should. You know what offends me? They won't call these babies babies.
Yes. That's right.
It's fetal tissue, it's research specimens, they're babies.
Yeah.
That's what offends me. And what offends me even more than their inability to call them babies is their inability to defend these babies. The defenseless who can't defend themselves.
That's right.
In Louisiana, we're fighting not only to be a pro-life state, we're also fought against Common Core. Passing laws to get rid of the supervised deputies. We're not just talking about our Christian values, we are fighting for our Christian values. I want to close with this. Of all the things I've talked about today, the thing I hope you remember the most is the idea of America is what is at stake in this election. The idea of America is slipping away. But together we can stop that from happening. I'm here to tell you it's time to fight for America. I'm here to ask you to not just join a campaign, but to join a cause. I'm asking you to believe again. Believe in America. Now, we don't have time to waste. I'm not asking you to sign up tomorrow or next week or next month. I'm asking you to sign up today. We got volunteers here. Sign up today. Tell us, yes, I'm willing to take a stand. I'm willing to fight against the left and the politically correct crowd and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. I'm willing to do what it takes to rescue the idea of America, because America can dominate this country. Our best days should still be ahead of us. But it's not going to happen if we don't show up. It's not going to happen if we lead this fight to those leaders in D.C. And by the way, it is time to shove term limits down their throats. I'm tired of this permanent, separate, governing political class that thinks they know better than us. They need to live under the same rules and laws that apply to the rest of us. They thought Obamacare was great until we wanted to take away their exemptions. Then they didn't like it so much. I hope it's clear. If you're looking for somebody who's going to manage the slow decline of America, I'm not your candidate. If you're looking for somebody who's running for the presidency without permission from Washington, D.C., I'm asking you to join our cause. Join us. Believe again. Let's rescue the idea of America before it is too late for us, for our children and grandchildren. God bless you all. Thank you.